Okay, so, oh, I should be doing this. Sorry. This morning we left Key West, which was pointing, and sailed for the Marquesas Keys. And we took the northern route because of the way the wind was blowing out and around. And right there is where that storm front that Predict Wind said was not going to be a problem became a problem.
Well, not just Predict Wind, nobody was predicting
And
this.
everybody said that it was not going to be a problem. It became a problem. So we quickly sailed.
We tacked. We came down toward the island.
Okay.
Doused the sails right here. Motored in.
Now zoom in on. So this little horseshoe feet shaped are the Marquesas Keys. Now it's
Up here we had when we were dousing the sails, we had a sail get bound up because our furler is not working on the forestay, and so we came down here and we anchored and we fixed the sail. So we came down to this point.
We fixed the sail because the sail was having an issue, and
Found out that it was the furler, not the sail's problem.
Yeah, we put up a different sail in its place
To test it. It had the same issue.
And the same problem, so we determined that the problem is the furler, not the sail.
It's okay. They're the types of jibs you can have. You can either have a furling one, which is what we had until this afternoon, or a hank-on one, which means that you just clip it on when you need it and then raise it up and lower it down. So now we're just going to use them as hank-on jibs, so it's fine. It's just less convenient.
Less convenient.
It's how we sailed this boat for the first year.
Yeah, it is. So it's not that big a deal, and the sails all work properly, so that's not. So, but because this storm has grown and expanded, and we're in for a little bit of heavy weather tonight, we decided that we were going to sail into the center of the Keys to get into the protected area into that little bay. It's only one slight.
It is a big freaking bay.
It is. Okay, so I'm gonna show you guys. This is the bay. Now on the map, it looks little. It's huge. But the difficulty and the wildlife in here is fantastic. And I saw flying fish, and on top of that, and I am not telling fish tales, guys. This fish jumped along the side of the boat, and the fish itself was 3 feet long. It was the biggest fish I've seen in real life in my life. It was enormous. So I am not telling fish tales. It was 3 feet long. So the challenge with coming into the Marquesas Keys, and why most people anchor outside the Keys and then use their dinghies to come inside, is that, so you see all the dark purple there?
These are mud flats.
Are mud flats.
I mean, they're covered by a foot of water.
By a foot.
However, we draw
water.
a foot and a half.
Yeah.
So we can't go across the mud flats.
But there are a few channels. The problem is with every storm, the channels change.
So the channels are caused because as the tide rises and ebbs, it comes flowing in like rivers under the water, right? So you get these channels that as the water flows in, and it cuts these channels deeper. And so the channels can be anywhere from 3 to 5 to 7 feet deep, which is great, except they're very fluid in their positioning. They are not very fixed. So we followed as best we could coming in, but Angela was on the bow watching for this and telling me to go port, starboard, back up, whatever it was. And there were a couple of places came in and got in here and we're like, hey, this is a great spot, let's anchor. It looks like it's plenty deep enough for us, and it was. And we put the anchor out, but by the time we'd put out 30 feet of
anchor line and chain, we drifted into the mud flats.
We were too close for comfort to the mud flats, right?
And our depth instruments weren't registering any depth.
Which means that they're kissing mud.
Yeah. So, it means our depth.
Or we have at least churned up enough mud that they can't reach the bottom.
So we had to leave, and I had to stand on the front of the boat and navigate. And you can see that our path doesn't quite follow the channel, because the channel channel has changed, and there were a couple of spots where we were literally in 1.5 feet of water, and I was starting to panic a little bit, going, this does not look good, this does not look good, because I can
one
see
place where we were kicking up mud
Yeah.
as we're going, right? So the motor sits a little bit below the bottom of the boat, obviously, and so its propeller was kissing mud as we were
which is not good, and we don't want to do that because it disturbs the habitat, and we try very hard not to disturb the habitat.
But this is an area that the water washes in and washes out every day, right?
So we're okay with that. It was just, it was unnerving because there are rocks, and yeah, I didn't want to get us hung up on rocks or break the boat or anything like that. But this is where we are tonight, and we are safe. It's a protected place, so we're not, and I know the 360 I showed you looks like great big giant gaping open areas, but they're really very protected because of the mud flats. They break up any of the swell or the waves, so that
you end up with nice, easy waves at night.
And so it's a nice, it's a nice rocking motion, and we have a gorgeous, gorgeous sunset over here. Oh, there, that's even better. It helps when I learn to use my camera properly. So it's going to be a lovely evening. We're going to go inside and make up some dinner, and then, yeah, and I'll work on some video editing maybe, and then we're off to bed.
Supposed to be, maybe we have to motor to get there, was the predictable thing. I am deeply disappointed in this app that is supposed to predict the wind. It's in the title.
We have come to the conclusion that if predict wind says that it's going to be good weather, expect a storm. If predict wind says that there's going to be a storm, expect gorgeous weather. But never believe predict wind, because they apparently cannot predict the wind. So, anyway, good night, everyone.